What up, YouTube? Here with a post-fight review video for this past weekend's IBF featherweight title bout between the then defending champion Kiko Martinez and Josh Warrington. Um, those of y'all that watched the fight this past Saturday, you already know the results. Josh Warrington is your new IBF featherweight champion. This makes him a two-time world champion. He won via a 7th-round stoppage TKO win in an impressive, dominating fashion. Which was to my surprise because, Warrington is not a knockout artist. He doesn't have a high knockout ratio. Prior to this fight, I think he's only had like 7, 8 knockout wins. And since he's been fighting at a top level at featherweight, all his wins has came via, I would say, a close decision win, like his fight with Kiko Martinez in their first fight a few years back, because this was a second meeting between the two fighters. That was a majority decision. His win over Kid Galahad was a split decision. His win over Lee Selby was also, I believe, a split decision. And then last time he scored a knockout was against some French fighter that I do not know the name of, and I mean that with all due respect. So with that being said, I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. I was going to make a prediction video for this fight last week, but I just, couldn't fit that into my schedule. I was expecting Warrington to win via decision, not via a TKO like we saw this past Saturday. But he definitely put the 126-pound division on notice after a performance like that, for sure. And yeah, with that being said, without any further ado, let me give y'all my in-depth analysis of this fight, the second fight between Kiko Martinez and Josh Warrington. Hats off to Josh Warrington. Like I said, this by far, in my opinion, his best performance he's put on to this date. Josh Warrington, from the beginning of the bell, from the first round on, it was all him. Before the stoppage, I had the fight scored a shutout for Josh Warrington. Just everything that Warrington was throwing Martinez's way was effective. I was impressed by, not only his volume and his pressure, but the fact that, he put it on the line. They say no guts, no glory. He really laid it out there, and it worked for him. He wasn't afraid of, what Kiko Martinez did in his last fight, knocking out a fellow Britishman, a common opponent that, both Martinez and Warrington himself has fought. You've seen how Martinez put Kid Galahad out with a perfectly timed left hand, I think. I forget. It was either overhand left or right that Martinez floored Galahad with to win the IBF featherweight title back last year. But, despite the fact that Martinez is a tough game fighter who packs a punch, Warrington didn't mind that. He went out there and, just started throwing bombs, and his combos was effective throughout this fight, and I was real impressed with his performance. I think anybody that tapped into the fight this past Saturday had to give Josh Warrington a round of applause for the performance he put on this past Saturday. In the first round, you could tell by how the fight was going. The momentum was all Warrington. He dropped Martinez in the first round with a beautifully timed right hand during an exchange, and then I think there was like a clash of heads between the two fighters. It wasn't a deep cut. It was like a little small laceration, a gash under Kiko's eye. I think it came from a clash of heads, but that happened in the first round. So throughout the fight, where Warrington was wearing Martinez down all the way till the stoppage, that gash would get worse throughout the fight, and the accuracy as well, with all the punches that Warrington was putting together, was a killer combo for Martinez. And I thought the stoppage wasn't disputable. I thought the referee made the right call, and he stepped in at the right time. And Kid Galahad, pardon me, Kiko Martinez looked like he wasn't complaining. He was, forced back on the ropes. just getting beat on by Warrington and his onslaught. And with this being said, Josh Warrington being a two-time world champion now, regaining a IBF featherweight title. He only has one defeat on his record. He tried to avenge that back last year when he had that rematch against Lara, but that ended in a no contest. I made a video on that fight, when that fight happened, and I'm sure because of the way how their rematch resulted, I'm sure there's going to be a third fight between Lara and Warrington, but this time it's going to be for the IBF featherweight title, and hopefully that's Warrington's next fight. Lara, he won on the undercard to Martinez and Chocolatito a few weeks back, and he won via knockout, and that's Warrington's only L on his record. He was knocked out by Lara back in like 2020, and that's his only defeat. And I'm sure, after, putting on such a impressive win against Kiko Martinez, I'm sure he wants to, win, especially in a fashion like that against Lara in their rematch. And I'm sure both fighters want to clear up the controversial ending to their second fight, and this I think makes it a even playing field for both Lara and Warrington. Warrington wants to avenge his only loss, and Lara, I'm sure, would like to win a title as well. So I think that's the next fight for Josh Warrington. I think that makes the most sense for Josh Warrington to get in there with Lara for his next fight. If not, you also have Lee Woods, who's the WBA regular featherweight champion, who won via a knockout as well to retain his belt against Michael Conlan, and probably, I would say thus far the best candidate for the knockout of the year for this year. Lee Woods versus him would be huge over there in England. Both, very well followed fighters in the domestic local British boxing scene. I think that would be a huge title unification bout out there. If not, if it's not Lara or Woods, you also have, the super WBA featherweight champion Leo Santa Cruz, if he wants to jump over to America to make a splash out there. If not, then, you also have guys like, Michael Conlan, and, it's a lot of options for him out there for his next fight as far as Josh Warrington goes. And as far as Kiko Martinez goes, the featherweight division, man, it's got a good mix. It's got a good mix, especially out there in Europe, over there in England. But, him being from Spain, he's right there in the same continent. And, that's where the featherweight scene is at. The European scene, the British boxing scene is where majority of the recognizable names at 126 pounds. They mostly fight out there in England and Europe. So, he also has, multiple future possible opponents. So it's not the end of the road for the old bull. I still think he got, a few fights left in him. He just lost to the better man, clearly. And, I still think he could be one of those gatekeepers at 126 pounds. Now, with that being said, that does it for this review, for this fight. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comments. Subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Anyways, I'm out, y'all. Peace.